Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton had their end of season press conference today, and they teased some huge moves coming this summer. We have to get into maybe some trade plans and some draft plans that were revealed by Kent Hughes. Plus, the Montreal Canadiens pick up the option, which extends Martin St. Louis' contract for another 2 years. He's not going anywhere. We got some awesome quotes and a lot more great stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, and we're just going to get straight into it, Jesse. We're going to start with Coach Marty. Martin St. Louis is going nowhere, as it was officially announced today that by Kent Hughes that the Canadiens have exercised a 2-year option on Martin St. Louis' contract, so he is under contract the next 3 seasons. Quote, he's very impressive. He's the right person for what we're doing here, and there's not a day goes by we're not happy with him, says Jeff Gorton. But that's not the only thing, Jesse. We had some other amazing quotes. Jeff said, I think Montreal is going to be a place where players want to play, and I think we're hearing that more. I think Marty's a big part of that. We'll actually revisit this quote a bit later as well, because I think it plays in very well to the stuff coming up later in the video when we're talking about the big moves. Finally, we got a quote from Slav. He said, we all love him, talking about Marty. He's just, I would say, too smart with all his ideas and everything. It's crazy to see someone looking at the game that way, and it's great to have someone like that because it gives you new ideas every day. Endless praise for Coach Marty throughout this whole press conference. They were talking so good about him and what he's done for the team. Jesse, I'm so excited for the future with him behind the bench, and having him for two more years is really just a blessing.
Yeah, Marty St. Louis is like Kent Hughes. They're just too smart, and that's really such a blessing to have for this organization. And when coincidentally Kent Hughes was asked about this kind of option being taken up for Marty St. Louis, he said, well, and the question was, do you think that he can really be the coach when we're looking to compete? And he said, well, obviously we're not giving him this option unless we really believe that. And I think the proof's in the pudding, right? Like the way that he's been able to compete. When Jeff Gorton was asked, what really impresses you the most about the team this year? One of the first things for him was just how they competed, especially like right to the end. He said basically all the games were like 1-goal games, right? So that's amazing to see when you got players that really get up for their coach. Because he said he's been in other organizations where players just give up. But Marty, being the leader really of this team right now, especially, they really rallied behind him, had a great effort. So, I mean, amazing to see. Marty said, it's a passion for him. It's not a job. He's going to be in the Bell Center basically till they just kick him out at this point.
Yeah, he said, I'll be around as long as they want to have me. Yeah, it's a passion, and I love that. And it clearly extends to the players and to everyone else in the organization. Like they were saying, I think it was Jeff Gorton saying, or maybe it was Kent Hughes, I can't remember. They said, Marty shows something new every single day. Like it feels like he proves something new they didn't even know he needed to prove every day. His mind is constantly working, and the players love him. We heard a quote from Lane Hudson saying, they asked him, hey, did you know Martin St. Louis before you came and joined the Habs? He said, no, but I'm really glad I do now. This competitive mindset. And the other thing, actually, that they said, I think it was Kent Hughes saying that he watched Marty when Marty was coaching some kids. And one thing Marty said that I think really translates well to this roster, Jesse, is he said to these kids, he said, I wasn't always the biggest, I wasn't always the fastest, I wasn't always the most skilled, but I was the best at getting better. And so, he was better than everyone else at getting better. And that's something we're seeing from so many players. Slav is getting better at a crazy rate. We're seeing these jumps from so many guys, even the veterans like Armia and Gallagher having a bit of a resurgence at the end. I think that is something that is invaluable when you're looking at the type of prospects the Habs are getting. And it's going to be something that really translates to a ton of success in the future, I think.
No, absolutely. That's it, and just really getting that culture, having them locked down for the future is just really the continuity of all of this, which is really so important, just kind of going forward, right? So you have to feel like we're really in this for the long term. We're now getting our core of our players together. We got our coaching. So the sky's really the limit from here.
For sure. But hey, Marty is one step of the process. The rest is getting these good players and bringing everything together to develop a championship level roster. And they have some big plans. Well, we'll just open with the quote from Jeff Gorton. Now, this was just one quote in a 44-minute press conference. But hey, this press conference was absolutely phenomenal. The whole thing, I suggest you go check it out on the Montreal Canadiens YouTube channel. This is my Jeff Gorton face. So he said, it's a huge summer for us. We want to set us up pretty well. Now, within just on its own, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. But throughout this whole press conference, Jesse, they were talking about how they do need some scoring up front. There's no doubt about that. But they were kind of saying, there will be no buyouts this summer. So put that off the table. We know there's some roster spots opening up. We know that Tanner Pearson's going to be gone. And hey, we know that maybe next year there's some guys on expiring deals. There could be some moves. The vibe I got from this whole press conference is while next summer is also going to be big, they kind of said like this is the first step. Next summer could probably even be bigger when you're pushing into maybe an even more competitive window. They want to set up this year. Now, what that means is up to interpretation, but I definitely got the feeling that, we're going to get into the draft in just a minute, but even other than the draft, there will be some significant moves coming this year that really gives us a clear direction into how they want to build this team.
There will be, and this is huge news because when you're a vice president of hockey operations like Jeff Gorton is, you're limited in how much you can really say while trying to be transparent with the media, with fans, and everything else. But this is the most that he can say if he's really looking to have a busy summer, that we're looking to really set things up. And I believe he's absolutely right in saying so, because now after this year, he said, like, with so many players taking a leap from 12 months ago, even Suzuki being that 1C, that progression of Slav is like, I like to think of it kind of like as a car, right? Like now you got your frame. Now you can really put your engine in there. Like, what you're dealing with. So now you can set it up. You can put that big V8 in there, like you're ready for it now. Now, of course, the whole thing is like, you feel like Jeff Gorton kind of wants to make these moves. He has experience of doing this successfully with the Rangers in the past. Asked about the timeline and how that all works. It's like, for sure, they're all on the same page, but you almost feel like Jeff wants to go and make a trade. And Kent's like, no, wait for the long-term plan. And Marty's a part of this too, which is interesting. Marty St. Louis is part of that brain trust, this trifecta right now that's really making some big decisions for this Montreal Canadiens, right? They are on the same page. They want to do trades that can be good for our long term, but we can make trades this summer to set us up that also will be good for our long term as well. And I think now that we have this team, you want to do that. You don't want to wait too long. You want to do it right. You want to be patient, but you also don't want to feel like, just by spending a lot of time, it means that we're going to do this right. I think it's important to be patient, but if these opportunities do come up, we're definitely looking to set it up this year. And I mean, that's amazing and huge news for me.
Yeah, it's big, right? And one thing that I really liked as well is that Kent Hughes was not afraid to use the term playoffs this time. I mean, last year they tried to we don't know, like they tried to skirt around it. This year Kent was like, nah, I'm not, tiptoeing around that word. He's like, playoffs? We're going to do the best that we can to get there. He's like, I know the fans want it, but you got to also be patient. You don't want to, in playoffs, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, right? Because what ends up happening, don't forget, Jeff Gorton was a guy who we've seen be vocal in saying, like, you don't want to just go, for example, sign a veteran to a long contract that's going to hinder you at the end of it, right? I'm seeing some rumors about Stamkos coming to Montreal, Sidney Crosby. Well, yeah, I'd still love that, but whatever. I'm seeing Jonathan Marchessault, so these kind of things. And even for short deals, it's fine, but that the organization is like, they have a goal in mind for where they want to steer this team. So regardless, though, super exciting stuff. But it wasn't just, plans for maybe trades and stuff. But we also got to talk a bit about the draft. Now, Kent Hughes was asked, he's getting asked this a lot about what if a defenseman is there? What if that's your best player available when you're up at the draft? Which is a fair question because the Habs have one of the deepest defenseman prospect pools in the league. Maybe the deepest. Probably is, honestly. But Kent basically said that if a defenseman is clearly the best player available at their pick, they'll think about it and they'll probably take him if they want to take a player, but they could also trade up or trade down. But it seems like, as Marc-Olivier Beaudoin says, it seems like they're aiming for a forward. And that makes sense. And it really seems that way, Jesse, because the answer is not kind of like it was maybe before, like, oh, well, what if a defenseman? You already have a bunch. We're taking best player available. No, it's more like things can change. If there's a defenseman there and it's clearly the best player, we'll probably take him, but you never know. We could move up or down. To me, just saying that on its own indicates that, no, they're going for a forward. That combined, though, with everything else they said in this press conference about how they need that kind of scoring punch up front, they're very aware of it. I think it's very likely we see a trade on draft night, especially with how many good defensemen there are in this draft. It wouldn't be a shocker for maybe the Habs' best player available to be a defenseman at their spot. Maybe they could trade down for a different asset. I think this is just another little thing that we have to look forward to because it seems like they have their eyes maybe on someone, maybe on a couple of guys they really want to snag in this draft.
For sure. I think they've definitely kind of definitely locked on to a couple, right? And probably, they're 2 and 3 most preferred. And that's why I think the option, if otherwise, we're just getting a D-man, if you're able to kind of draft up or draft down to really identify which player you want to go after, because we know with our scouting staff, they're passionate about the players that they really like. And of late, they've been having a pretty amazing track record. So I have to feel like if they really find the player that they like, to go ahead and really make the move, get the right player. It's so important. You think that just, kind of any player within the top 10, within the top 5 is cool. No, it matters, especially when we have such an organization, such a culture we're looking to pick, right? Getting that right one. We see how Slav is so fundamental, getting that pick right and how it just fits the culture. Almost you can't think of the Montreal Canadiens without him at this point, right? Like this is the same type of pick that we're going to have to move again, right? We're not going to be having too many opportunities as quite hopefully, right? So important to do it well. So I absolutely see Kent Hughes looking at all options to really maximize this selection.
It's going to be amazing to see what they end up choosing to do. And hey, there's still a lot of process left. They still have to conduct their draft interviews. That's not for a while. The draft lottery is in 2.5, 3 weeks from now, roughly. And again, we're going to be live streaming that when we get there. There is so much left to do, but this end of season press conference left a great taste in my mouth, right? I'm just like, oh baby, it makes me more excited, right? Excited for big moves this offseason, for the draft, for some trades, for maybe some signings. Who knows? We all know the big free agency class next year. Who knows who might be available? There's so many good things happening right now, Montreal Canadiens land. And if you want the best spot to stay up to date on all that news, you should click like and subscribe to this channel because we do that every single day. Even from here on, season's over, it doesn't matter. Every day, we'll be here to give you all the latest news. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, like I just said, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us out. Help out other Habs fans get the news that they want the most. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.